Hello, welcome to Hillary's Whiskey Lounge. I'm Hillary, and this is my whiskey lounge. And today we're going to be doing the third in the Masters Anthology series of GlenDronach. And this third one is, we're creeping into the peat. This one is Ode to the Embers by GlenDronach. This is a no age statement, so it tends to be pretty young. Most people agree on that. It's 48.8% ABV, and it's natural colored. And although it doesn't say non-chill filtered on the label, I did some research and digging, and just like the other anthology series, this is indeed non-chill filtered. This is a peat expression. It's very light in peat, and I'll talk about the peat in a little while. A long time ago, and I don't know if this is 20, 30 years ago, GlenDronach actually did produce some peated expressions, and they did a lot of their kiln drying with peat, but they haven't ever since they sort of changed hands and became part of Brown-Forman and all of that. So GlenDronach is not known for being peated at all. So they decided to produce this sort of homage to their earlier days when they did do peating. So this is actually a great transition from us from going to the non-peated whiskeys into some peated ones. And I'll show you some more of those towards the end of the video. And we're going to talk about peat as well. So let's open up this puppy. And as I said, it's 48.8% ABV, non-chill filtered, no color added. Look at that color, that's incredible. It has been, I'm not sure if it's matured or finished, probably matured based on the color, in Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez casks, sherry casks. Ooh, that's a nice cap. Okay, and I've got my nice little GlenDronach copita here. I always feel better when I'm drinking a whiskey out of the brand glass that it comes in, but then if I do too much of that, then that means that I'm going to have too many of these tasting glasses. Wow, that's kind of a large pour. What am I doing? All right, let's let this sit and breathe for just a moment. So as I said, this is the third in the series of the Masters Anthology group, the newest release from GlenDronach. I think it came out in early 2025. This little trio. So there was the Ode to the Dark, which I absolutely love. Ode to the Valley, which was kind of okay, but I wouldn't write home about. I probably wouldn't buy another bottle of that. And then I took a chance to sort of transition us over to peat by getting this third Ode to the Embers. And first of all, check out this bottle. Look at this beautiful artwork on here, like little brambles and birds, and in fact GlenDronach does mean Valley of the Brambles, by the way. So all right, and oh, speaking of the label of this, let me see if I can find the label for the Ode to the Dark. You can see little like moons and stars and things on here. They got really cute. And by the way, the master blender at this stage at GlenDronach is Rachel Berry, and she's been around for a while. She really knows her stuff. I do have to do some more research on her and get to know her history a little bit more. All right, so this has had a moment to breathe. Let's do the nose. Very gentle aroma of peat, very gentle. I can tell it's there, but it's not overwhelming. So if you are a whiskey enthusiast and you love peat, this might even underwhelm you. If you are just starting your whiskey journey and you're just used to the nice sweet sherry expressions or the bourbon forward expressions that I've been sharing with you or that you've tasted on your own, and you want to start getting into the peated realm, this actually might be a good first step for you. But I'm getting all the regular scents that I get from the Ode to the Dark, for instance. So some dried fruit, some raisins. It's very earthy, and that's probably due to the peat. Some wood, almost. Some wood scent. That might be the peat talking. And by the way, this is only 14 parts per million peat of phenols. And so if you take a some other whiskey, for instance, I think Kilchoman, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. There are some that have 40. There are some that have over 100, like Bruichladdich Octomore. So this is just baby peat. This is baby peat. This is a good starting spot. Okay, so definitely raisins, definitely some wood, cinnamon, spices, maybe even some pear. It's really nice and light and fruity, despite the little bit of peat in there. So let's give this a first sip. Mm. Wow, it's got an excellent mouthfeel. You can tell through that it really has to be non-chill filtered. That mouthfeel is there, the oils are there, the thickness is there, um, and being 48.8% ABV is slightly strong on the palate, but I haven't added any water yet. The peat is so subtle. I taste it more in the finish. So that's, as you finish, as you swallow the the scotch, you can actually sense more with your nose that way. And so I think that's why a lot of peated whiskeys, people say that the finish is where they get most of their peat, besides the nose. Um, let's see the palate. Mm, very chocolatey, very rich, also very wood-like. Um, a little bit medicinal. I read somewhere that somebody was thinking of rubber boots with this. That's delicious. Now, don't be going out and eating rubber boots or wellies or anything like that. But I get what they're saying. So it has this slight medicinal, almost almost like a Band-Aid. You know, when you open up a Band-Aid, all the old-fashioned kind of plastic ones. I guess in the UK, you guys would call those plasters. So when you open up a plaster or a Band-Aid, um, you get that kind of that plasticky medicinal smell, but it's good. I know it's kind of hard to describe unless you've tasted whiskey and you understand that medicinal quality to it. It actually makes sense. Mm, okay, yeah, slight medicinal quality, and then also in the palate. I think it's actually good. I'm surprisingly, not surprisingly, because I really love GlenDronach, but um, I'm actually delighted by this, especially because the peated stuff is not my absolute favorite, although I'm going to go forward with you and we're going to do our peated whiskeys now, starting in this series. Um, and this is a great start. This is a great baby peat. All right, let's add a little water and see what happens to the nose and oops, to the nose and to the palate and finish. It's really beautiful. It's a gorgeous color. I'm sure you can see it with the light reflected off of there. It is beautiful. It's not too dark, so it's not Ode to the Dark Dark, but you can definitely tell that the sherry casks are there. Okay. All right. The nose has really opened up. The peat is slightly stronger. It really did open up here too. It smells like I feel like I'm sitting around a nice gentle campfire. There's almost like a toasted marshmallow. Maybe I'm just thinking about campfires too much, but a toasted marshmallow feeling, sense, smell. It's really cozy. It's very cozy. This would be perfect for a nice rainy evening. It would pair very well with a charcuterie plate, for instance, with really nice prosciutto or some nice cheeses. Especially if you paired it with some kind of smoked meat, that would be lovely. Okay, really, I'm getting marshmallow and meat, and still that peat has really opened up, but it's not overwhelming. If you are a naysayer about peat, but your friends are trying to get you to get into peat more or to come back to peat, try this. This is really a nice, like I said, a nice transition from the sweet sherries over to peatland. Wow. Okay. Yikes. um, Much smoother arrival than without water, of course. Um, the flavors are really, really opening up, like the fruit, the woody flavors. Um, the mouthfeel is still there 100%, even though I added a little bit of water. Sorry, I've got a hair that's bugging me. Um, okay, sorry. This hair won't go away. All right. It's really, and the finish, I'm still getting a lot of that nice, very, very gentle 14 parts per million of phenol. Really very, very light, very light. So when they say lightly peated, this is very lightly peated. Okay, absolutely pleasant. I did pour myself a huge dram. I'm going to finish this later. But I really want to say I'm impressed with this, especially that GlenDronach is trying to produce a very, very lightly peated homage to their earlier peating days, when the peat smoke was used for the kilning. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about peat. I'm going to try to insert some pictures here for you. So peat is it's a natural bog-like substance that is very spongy. It's decaying plants, it's water, it's highly acidic. Um, Not very many plants can actually live in it. The sphagnum moss can. There are other little creature type animals like some of the pitcher plants and Venus flytraps, but and heather. So, and that's what you see in Scotland. So Scotland is just filled with these peat bogs and heather is everywhere, and it's just all over in the soil. And it's in Ireland too. There's I think in the United States lots of swampy areas. I'm not sure if they actually constitute peat, like in the Carolinas, where a lot of the pitcher plants and things come from that are sold in the United States. So it's this decaying, um, very carbon filled matter, and it's very spongy, almost muddy, but spongy at the same time. So I'm going to try to show some pictures of what a peat bog looks like. And there have been actually bog people that have been found in some of these peat bogs as they've been dug up. So bog people, you'll hear about that if you study anything about Scotland or Ireland. And so a lot of carbon is trapped inside these peat bogs. In fact, I read a statistic where something like um, 80% of the Earth's carbon stores are stuck in these peat bogs, even though the peat bogs take up only about 3% of the area of the Earth um, of the area of the Earth. So there are a lot of well, let me tell you about what happens. So to dig up peat, these sort of long fork things, these long shovels are used to dig up these long peat bricks. They're kind of like this big. I'm being so particular here. It's almost like 4 by 4 inches and maybe a foot and a half long or something like that. So maybe something like 18 inches. So the traditional way of digging peat is using these big long shovels. Then the peat bricks are actually stored up in piles right there on the field, and they're left to dry. And it takes about a year for these peat bricks to dry. And um, and then traditionally, the peat bricks have been used in Scotland and Ireland for a source of heating, instead of using log woods or coal, so or wood logs or coal. So it's not unusual that there are still some people who actually use these peat bricks for putting in their little fireplace or stove. And so the way that the peat gets infused into the whiskey is that these peat bricks are used in the fireplaces for the smoke to emerge, to float the heat, to float over the malted barley after it's been soaked and taken out of the soaking after uh, the little the little root has started to establish. And so when that little root comes up, the barley is taken out of the water and it's put on a malting floor where there's heat, and it could be non-smoky heat or actually the peat smoke heat that is spread over the barley. Now the barley is being regularly turned by the maltmen, hence the term monkey shoulder, where in the old-fashioned way of turning the barley, the men's back and shoulders would sort of become sort of decrepit and they would sort of slant to one side, hence the term monkey shoulder. And you've probably seen that blended scotch before, that blended malt. So anyway, in the fireplace, the smokemen put either coal, or I don't know if they even use wood anymore, or some other way to do the heating. But because of the prolific use of peat bricks, it was just thought, let's just use peat bricks to produce some smoke and heat and dry the peat. And then if you can imagine, the smoky essence from that peat is being instilled into the barley as it dries. Then that barley is taken and ground and sifted and turned into the barley flour that's used in the tons. So that's where the smoke essence comes from. It comes from the peat that way through the barley as it's being heated. So it has nothing to do with adding any kind of smoky essence or smoking the actual liquid as it's being distilled or anything like that. It comes from the fire that dries the peat. I actually have a couple of pieces of peat here that I showed you before, I think. These come from Springbank Distillery, actually. So these are dried, obviously. And this is a little testament to the fact that, yes, Springbank does a little bit of their drying with peat. Okay. So hopefully I've gotten to show you some pictures of the bogs, the bricks, the kilning process. And yes, indeed, GlenDronach did used to use a fair amount of peat in their drying. So when people think of GlenDronach now, they think of, oh, that's just sweet sherry. But now you can taste a little bit of that here. Now going back to the carbon volume that's held in these peat bogs, what's happening is when the peat bogs are disturbed and cut by either by hand, the old-fashioned way, or through these peat cutting machines, which now a lot of distilleries use. They're sort of like tractors that cut up the peat for them instead of having to do it by hand. There's a huge carbon emission that comes from not only digging up the peat itself and releasing the carbon there, but also from the burning of the peat. So there is a lot of controversy about the use of peat in producing whiskey. Now, those die-hard Laphroaig, Lagavulin fans, I'm sure, are saying, no, 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 we need our peat. But the ecologists are trying to make an effort to have that abolished, to have the use of peat bogs and peat bricks abolished. So there's a big controversy brewing about that. I'm going to try to insert some papers and some websites about this if you're interested in the controversy and the studies behind the carbon emissions and what is being held and stored inside those peat bogs, and then what happens when they're dug and released and then finally burned. So I'm hoping that I'll get some comments about this in the comment section too. If you know any more about this besides some of the websites and links and articles that I'm going to put in the description. It really is controversial, but like I said, there are those diehard people who just love their Laphroaig, their Lagavulin, and by the way, we're going to be tasting these very, very soon. So if you want to come on board with me and go into the world of peat, then get some Lagavulin. You can get some either 8 or 16-year-old. Here's Laphroaig 10. This is the classic. I think I actually bought this bottle in Scotland in 2022. It's mostly gone, but I'm sure it's still hanging on. Whoa, right. Okay, so there's Laphroaig, there's Lagavulin. The other big boy of Islay is Ardbeg. So this is Ugadal. So we're going to be tasting this one. There's also the Ardbeg Wee Beastie that some people love. It's a little 5-year-old, and it's super, super peaty. And in fact, the cool phenomenon that happens is that as a peated whiskey ages, it loses some of its peat. So some people argue that if it's a younger whiskey, it'll have more of the peat and smoky flavor. Let's see what else. There is Kilkerran, and I think I did a review of the non-peated Kilkerran, but this is a heavily peated expression. I think we're going to do this one. And there's also Lecheg. This is a really amazing, kind of newish. Well, it's not. Maybe it's not new. No, it's not new. It's in Tobermory. But Lecheg is really, really popular amongst the whiskey enthusiasts, and it's slightly peated. And then let's see, what else do I have? Oh yeah, Kilchoman. So this is a farm distillery. They do their own grains. My favorite of the Kilchomans is this Loch Gorm. It's a sherry cask, as you can see, but it's also slightly peated. Not just slightly, but I'd say strongly peated. So your assignment, if you want to go ahead with the peat with me, is to get some Kilchoman. You could either get this 100% Isla or this Loch Gorm, which probably we're going to be tasting both. There's also some peated expressions of Bunnahabhain. And so there's the Toiteach, I don't know how to say it. It's the Toiteach, I think it's spelled. And that's slightly peated as well. So I think I really want to try this whole range of Lafroig 10, some Lagavulin 18. So Linda Rowley, I'm talking to you if you're watching. So we are going to be going and doing some of those peated, the peats for a long time. But this GlenDronach Ode to the Embers, which I really approve of now, is a great way to start your peat adventure into whiskey. So, Slunjava, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you like this video. Please share with your friends, especially those who are starting their whiskey journey, or if they are also whiskey enthusiasts. I'm in Los Angeles. It's a beautiful day. I think it's going to be about 75 degrees today, or close to 80 degrees today. Middle of January, I know, very strange. But still, the nights are cool. The mornings are nice and cool. Speaking of morning, I think it's only 11 o'clock. It's a Saturday, so come on, give me a break. I hope everybody's New Year is going well, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.